Hello, hello, it's Wednesday. Welcome, welcome. It is Flower School Live. So glad to have you with us, along with the three of us in the studio today. I've got Marisa, she's gonna be on Facebook with us.
Hi.
There's Marisa, and Parker's gonna be running tech and also on YouTube. So be sure to put your questions in and both of them will shout them out to me. I am Teacher Michelle, just in case you didn't know that. Gesundheit, Marisa. And then out in Cyberland, we have Susie and Caledonia, and Teacher Carolyn is also out there today. Hi, Red. Hope you're having a good one. Oh, and can't forget the bosses. They're out there in Cyberland today, too. So, hi, David and Leanne. Hope you are getting lots done today off-site. So lots done. So today we are hopefully upright, feeling somewhat rested maybe after Valentine's Day. I know it was a blowout of an event for almost everyone I saw in Tulip Tribe, everyone I saw on Facebook in general, everyone I talked to. So man, pat yourself on the back, put your fuzzy slippers on. If you're in the right time zone, pour yourself a glass of wine. And if you're at work, don't. So today, we are talking about flower school. And I posed a question to the Tulips. What is the most important thing you learned at flower school? And one must be careful what one asks for in the Tulip Tribe, because you all answered my question. Totally surprised at how many responses, plus the number of emails. If you get our Monday newsletter that comes out with video information and kind of what's happening and shaking at Flower School for the week, I had the question in there as well. Leanne included it in her message. If you don't get our weekly newsletter, you need to subscribe to that because that's where all the insider information happens. So I'm going to grab some materials to get started. And if you're a tulip and you haven't already, please put your little tulip icon in there. Tulips are current students, graduates of FDI, and members of the Flower Lovers Club. So while I grab materials, anybody popping on already? Anything I need to know? Is there anybody there at all?
I have a couple over here. I saw Sanette, Linda, Alicia, Valerie, and Donna pop in, as well as Carolyn Leanne.
Excellent, excellent. So, Carolyn, I'm going to put you on the spot because you're not here, so you can't throw things at me. As a teacher here at the school and as a graduate of the school, what was the most important thing you learned while you were in class here? Anybody over on the Facebook side yet, Marisa, or they all just
they're all just popping in. Let's see, let's see where I stopped off at. And I'll start actually backwards this time since I'm down there at the bottom.
All right.
Oh, let's see. Okay, we have Sue and Debbie.
Excellent.
And then we have Lisa, Drake, Heather, Maria, Bethany, David and Leanne, Cindy, Carrie, Kim, Cherie, Carl, Jen and John, and also Judy says, looking good as always, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. It was a good hair day, at least for 10 minutes. When I get off this, I'll probably put it back in a clippy like it normally is. Parker said, I didn't know you had long hair. I've never seen it done.
Oh my gosh.
My husband doesn't know I have long hair either because it's either in a bun or a clippy, so oh well. Drake, I think I heard Marisa say you were out there. You had one heck of a Valentine's Day. Glad you made it. I thought you might still be in a coma in the cooler. So now I'm not going to recap Valentine's Day necessarily because I know Leanne is going to be with you next week, with all of us next week, talking about holidays. And I am going to give you some homework for her, and that is to sharpen your pencil and get your numbers ready. She's going to be asking you some tough questions, some good questions, but yeah, so there's that. So in asking that question of what is the most important thing you learned in flower school, it's a little bit loaded, right? Because if you've had me in class The first day of class is a little overwhelming, right? It's like the first day of any school. You've got your new shoes and your new tools and books and strange new people to meet and all that fun stuff. And we do orientation when you come in person. And I always tell the students, I'm going to say this a lot. You're going to learn a lot in flower school. We give you a lot of information. I'm going to say that again. When you come to flower school, you learn a lot. We give you a lot of information. And I usually say that 2 more times. And I usually get an eye roll or 2 and a giggle, like, we heard you the first 3 times, Michelle. We're not, we can hear you. And then usually by the end of the second week, somebody pipes up and says, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much we have learned. You told us on day 1 that we would learn a lot, but I had no idea. And that was proven by the responses to my question, what's the most important thing that you learned at flower school? It ran the gamut, and I've printed off quite a few. I pulled some from your Facebook comments in the Tulip People Group. I also, I also pulled some from the emails that you sent me. Thank you very much. And kind of did a compilation of things. But before I tell you the results of that, did Teacher Carolyn have anything to say for me?
She did. She replied and said the mechanics and the elements and principles are the most important.
Excellent. Cool.
Very teacher answer.
It is a very teacher answer. However, mechanics, elements and principles, and pricing. Those were the 3 top answers that you gave. So not only is it a teacherly answer, it's a student-y answer. That doesn't sound right, but I'm sure it's a word. If we can say funner, we can say studentier. So, at any rate, so mechanics, goodness, mechanics. That's not just the ability to get things to stay in a container or in a bouquet. Yes, that matters, and that is part of it, but it's also knowing what mechanic to use. And that, I think, is probably the most eye-opening thing for people as they go through class and we do the different design styles. We always talk about elements and principles. We get that second day of class, I think. And we talk about color, and we talk about binding point, and we talk about all these things. But then, as we create these different designs, we also work at learning different mechanics, different ways to do the same thing. So one of the ways that we learn to make a hand-tied bouquet is a weave. So that's what I'm going to start with today. And we're just going to talk through it. And as we go through it, I'm going to read some of the responses. So those of you that sent things in and signed your name, I will just talk about those. Parker, you got something?
Yeah, I had I guess first a shout out. Brian just got his business license for his first floral shop.
Oh, well, congratulations, Brian. What is the name of your flower shop and where are you located? That is fantastic. Make sure that you put that in there, and everybody that's on YouTube can see it, and then we can share it. Well, I'm just having a heck of a time with these poor moms over here. Then we can share it with the Facebook crowd as well.
And then Valerie says she is used your little bottle corsage from last time you did live for some vintage bottles at a historic barn wedding.
Ooh,
that sounds amazing.
That sounds very cool. Have you posted any of those pictures in the Tulip Tribe? If you have, I have missed them, and I apologize. Yeah, that seemed to be a popular little doodad last week. Maurice and I were just talking about when did I do live last, and what was I talking about? It's part-timers. Part of the time I remember what I'm doing. So some of the comments that we had, like I said, the majority dealt with pricing, mechanics, and elements and principles. you know, the elements and principles are what guides everything that we do as far as the designs that we create and the mechanics that we choose, all of that good stuff. That all comes into play. What is your favorite mechanic for creating arrangements? Do you prefer doing foam designs? Do you guys prefer doing foam free, which could be hand tie, or it could be working with a floral foam, excuse me, floral foam alternative, that's a mouthful, or it could be just floating flowers. I'm kind of lazy at home and I do just that, float flowers. So type in there what your favorite mechanic is, just to share.
Michelle, I have several more tulips over here
Oh,
on
good.
Facebook. Okay, let's first do a shout out to Mary, because it sounds like this is her first time catching a live stream with us.
Hi, Mary.
And then Drake also said that he used his super tulip towers to get through Valentine's Day.
Nice.
And then let's see, we have Andrea, Denise, Beatrice, Sweetbriar, who's also Donna, Molly, Casey, Rose, Illustrious Petals, Jules, Karen, who's with her two little girls watching, Lonnie and Rosie,
Nice.
Robin, Joanne, Roxy, Jessica, Elizabeth, and then Dennis chimed in and says, you know, he's been in the business for 40 years, and it's quite neat to see how much has changed. However, how much has still stayed the same.
I would agree with you. You got a couple years on me in the business there, Dennis, but I would agree. Not just everything old is new again, but the same challenges and issues that we were facing, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we're still facing. It's just maybe in a little different manner at that point. I thought one of the interesting comments, I'm just going to call them interesting comments because I want to share quite a few with you. Sherry said, I learned so much. Flower care, processing, mechanics. Oh, the possibilities. Well, that is true. That is one thing when you come to flower school, the possibilities for what you can do with the knowledge that you leave with are tremendous. The industry right now is having such an amazing bloom. Sorry, I had to. That came out before I thought about it. We're experiencing such great growth right now. And it's a job that's in demand at all levels, from being a floral designer to a floral shop manager to running a grocery store floral department, which back in the day, I will say, when they first started carrying flowers in grocery stores, it was a little less than fabulous. But the evolution of that is spectacular. We have a former teacher that runs the floral department at a local chain. And let me tell you, that boy can design and he knows his stuff. The fact that he's located in a grocery store, it's purely location. It has nothing to do with skills or anything else at that point. So there are just so many opportunities for employment within, get in there, buddy, within the industry right now. If you haven't graduated yet, but you're still working towards your certification, good, keep it up. We've got other holidays coming up where flowering is going to be such a big deal. Not to mention all the weddings. Oh my goodness. Do you remember how many weddings I said there were going to be? A lot. 2.8 million, or was it B? Do you remember, Parker? Was it an M or a B? It was a lot. I can't even remember now.
I feel like it was M.
M, yeah. So lots and lots of opportunities for flowering. If you have graduated already, well, you already know that because you're already out working in the industry. And if you haven't come to flower school and you're thinking about it, now's kind of the time. We are getting ready for, me and these poor moms, I tell you, we are getting ready for another certification series starting in a couple of weeks, and we still have a little room. So if you're thinking about coming to Portland, we have room for you. Goodness, you know, I think as a career, floral design has really come into its own in the US. One of the comments that we had, let me see if I can find it and attribute it to the correct person, because I thought it was really, really good. Well, this was an excellent one. Cindy said, respect the profession and its people. This is real work done by real, talented, passionate individuals who have committed to their education. And I thought, well, nailed that on the head. I should have just read Cindy's and gone home, and you guys could have chatted amongst yourselves for an hour. Marjorie kind of expanded on that and then ended with practice, practice, practice. So I would absolutely agree with that. We talk a lot in school, in class, about, well, what happens when I graduate? You know, what if I don't graduate? Well, that's usually not the case. But the beauty of flower school is it's a lot like being a contractor. When you first start out, you get the opportunity to get a toolbox and your tools, and you get to learn how to use those tools and the proper way to frame a house, or the proper way to use a chop saw or a nail gun or whatever it might be. And then you practice. You continue to use what you've learned in order to get better at it. So that is definitely one of the benefits of coming to flower school. You get that information at the outset. I don't think I want these. And then as you practice and become more proficient at it, you get to move into that next level of artistry. And that is including incorporating your elements and principles.
So Michelle.
Yes, ma'am.
As a professional.
Yes, on days.
No, can you explain to us why you chose not to use the astrantia?
I chose not to use the astrantia because form-wise, it is very similar to these small button mums, and I just felt that it was too similar, that I wasn't going to get a lot of value out of it. And in that case, it was just going to be more. When I was pulling flowers, Marisa was processing and I was pulling, and I'd go, what do you think about this? And she's like, yeah, no. And then, oh yeah, I like that. So I thought, you know, I kind of want to go with a color harmony that some of you might recognize. Something that was just a little bolder, just had a little more kapow to it. And I initially thought the astrantia would be beautiful just to have some additional movement and dancing up above. But in actuality, I don't really want it. So I'm not going to use it. That's another comment that somebody had, and that was learning when to stop, which I thought was fantastic. Sharon said, other than mechanics, walk away from the design and then come back to it and look at it with new eyes. Thanks for that advice. That is so true. When I pulled my materials earlier, I looked at it and thought, yeah, I think I like that. But then as I started to put them in together, it really wasn't going to add much value to the design, visually or otherwise. And this is just a fun, simple little hand tie that you might send home with somebody from a shop. Just a happy Wednesday bouquet, right? And because y'all know these are my favorites and there were only 5 in the cooler, I just have to. So, what's the color harmony I have? Does anybody know this? Anyone? Any questions on YouTube, Parker, or comments out there?
Not yet. People were talking about their favorite mechanics.
Oh, and what do we have there?
A lot of people said they love the foam.
Okay.
But then that kind of was expanded into people saying they're trying to branch out and do more of the chicken wire. And I mean, you guys have been teaching them hand ties, so they're trying to take all that into account, do some hand ties.
Good. I don't have a favorite mechanic personally. I like to know that I have a bag of tricks and I can pull from that bag of tricks and use whatever mechanic is best for the design at hand. That's the sign of a professional. We might not like a certain technique or a certain color palette or a certain whatever, but we know that we have options with our designs and can choose to do things differently based on the end result we want. So I'm just going to tuck a little bit of this gorgeous, fluffy mimosa or acacia, depending on who you are and what you like to call it, around the perimeter here. And that's going to help unify my design and really make those little craspedia just pop right out. All right, bind it off a little bit. Well, I didn't really give myself a whole lot to work with there, did I? Well, it'll just have to work. It was bigger around than I thought it was going to be. I thought another interesting comment was one that Renee made, and it was pricing related, but specifically knowing who your customer is and charging what you're worth. That's really critical, I think. There's a tendency as we start to undercharge or charge less because we're a beginner. You might be slow, and that's okay. Speed comes with practice and repetition of things, but the knowledge that you have isn't necessarily impacted by the speed. So don't shortchange yourself at that point. I'm gonna make a little noise here while I trim on the stems so we can tuck them into a vase. What else is going out there, Parker?
Well, people were responding to your question on what kind of color you got going on there.
Okay, what do we have?
Complimentary. Got a lot of complimentaries.
Okay.
We have one primary. Everyone else is complimentary.
Complimentary it is. I've got yellow to violet, which is a very bold color harmony. And those of you that have had me in class know I'm a very quiet, shy, retiring individual.
Joanne earlier said that you're making those mums look so luxurious.
Don't they though? You know, they were in the cooler and there are no bad flowers, just bad designers. And I personally love carnations and I love mums. I love all the mums in all the flavors, all the varieties. My logo, my personal logo for my business is actually a white cushion palm because it just is structurally so beautiful. And I don't know, I just really like it. So this is just a fun, perky little Happy Wednesday bouquet. So as I look through a couple other of the comments that I wanted to share, Kim had a great one. Never doubt yourself. Stop and look at your design from all angles and often, and just don't overthink it. Isn't that true though? Don't you find that we tend to overthink things? Heck, I even overthink live. It's like, oh, what am I gonna do? And how am I gonna do this? And how many things should I have? And what and what and what? It's like, you know, it all just falls into place. You know what you're doing, just do what you know. And that makes such a big difference. So, technique. The technique I used on that was the it was a hand tie bouquet, and I used the weave or interlacing technique to create it, weaving the stems in and out. So the next thing I want to work on is a different technique, different mechanics, and we'll create a little wrist cuff. something to wear. I know. If we didn't have something with metal and glue, it wouldn't be Michelle, right? So I'll pop this up here so Parker's got a little better, I'll get all the flotsam and jetsam off the front of me, a little better spot to work with. Now, as I was processing the flowers this morning, these gorgeous, I don't think the camera's gonna do them justice, these gorgeous little orange spray roses, I've cut the stems down by half. They were probably a yard and a half long, and the thorniest little darlings you have ever seen. The warehouse sounded more like a truck driving school than a flower school as I was processing. So my fingers are going to be a little tender for a couple days after this, I'm afraid. But as I was doing the processing, some of the rose heads broke off, and I wasn't actually going to do a wearable today. I was just going to do, 3 different designs. But as you know, as we work, so I saved all these little bits of flotsam and jetsam. As we work, we have things that don't go as planned or that come off, and I just couldn't throw those out. So I just tucked them all, and I have tucked them all in a little container. I have a little bit of Lysianthus buds here to play with. I have a little bit of seeded eucalyptus. I'm having a heck of a time today. Didn't do my 22 toads, took a trip to Toledo beforehand, and that's why my tongue's not loose. I have a little bit of seeded eucalyptus to work with, and then also this little sprig of acacia that broke off. But I noticed back here that I saved some, and I have another little bit that's super furry, so I might work with it as well. But so when you come to flower school, in the basic course, we cover a myriad of different things. We talk about everyday designs you might do in a shop. We talk about the forms of the bouquets. We talk about elements and principles. We talk about elements and principles every day because that's how we design. We have to know them in order to create a design. One of the comments was learning about binding point was just mind-blowing, because if you don't have a binding point, what's the point? You don't have a design. And I thought, I like that. I'm going to put that in class. So thank you very much for that. So anybody else posting in there or commenting on their what they learned at flower school? I know we had a lot of folks that commented and emailed in, but anybody adding their thoughts now?
I'm looking back here. I don't see much. However, I like what Maria said here about your last hand tie. She said she liked the foliage that you were using because it made the mums look expensive.
We like that. That comes into that pricing, right? Pricing and profitability. We don't like starving florists. It's not a good look. It's not a good gig. So being able to charge appropriately for what you are creating, knowing how to charge appropriately, we cover pricing. We talk about 3 or 4 or 5 different pricing models in the basic course. We focus on a classic shop pricing strategy, but we discuss other options. And honestly, there isn't a right way to do it. The way that makes you money is the right way, but we really take you through kind of industry standards, and it's a starting point to give you a basis from which to build your own pricing structure. There's just no one size fits all on pricing because everything is so commodity dependent. Milk, bread, eggs, right? Milk fluctuates, dairy products fluctuate, beef prices fluctuate. Same with flowers. They're a commodity, so we really don't always know what something's going to cost. And in one part of the country, it costs different than in another part of the country. But what we give you is the tool to figure out, regardless of where you are, the best way to be profitable. And I think that probably, that is good sticky stuff right there. I think that is one of the scariest days for our students because because we typically talk about it after lunch. And who wants to do math? And nobody wants to do math. And I say, you know, I'm not a math person. I can barely add the letters in my name and get the same number twice. But I like flower math. And I like the fact that we teach it and give you so many options, and we do it every time we make an arrangement. You price that bad boy out because that's how you get comfortable. You practice your formula. And flower math makes me happy because that's how I get paid. And as I tell the students, I like nice things, and nice things cost money. Therefore, I must be profitable. That's a guiding principle. If you're not profitable, it's a hobby. So we want to make sure that you are not starving florists, that you are profitable, successful florists, and that's in the curriculum that we teach you.
Well, Michelle,
Yeah.
it looks okay. Julia and Joanne, both kind of are chiming on the same thing that they found. I guess one of the things that pop in their mind right now about what they learned in flower school. Julia said balance, and then Joanne said sequencing, because Julia said, you know, placing the smaller flowers on the top and the bigger flowers on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sequencing is definitely part of learning to create an arrangement that's pleasing to the eye. We cover that as we cover our elements and principles. It can deal or it can enhance rhythm in a design and unity in a design. So many different ways that comes into play. And of course now you're watching me try to get these little babies to stick because I didn't wait long enough for the glue to get tacky. Pad teacher, but I want to make sure I get all the fun stuff in. One of the other comments that we had along that was Karen said, mechanics, good mechanics, and the importance of the elements and principles to design and how to learn to use them creatively. So we talk a lot about you can't break the rules until you learn the rules. And in our industry, the rules are the elements and principles. And once you understand the purpose of them and you understand how they help us create, then you get to step outside the box, if you will, and create things that are a little more unusual. You really let your artistry start to show at that point. Marisa, what you got?
All right, so Hannon, their question is, what if your competition is lowering their prices? Should you compete and lower yours as well, or keep them high to make a profit?
That's an excellent question. If your competitors are trying to undercut the market, do you do that, or do you maintain your pricing and be profitable? Well, I don't think there's a right answer there, but my answer would be no, I'm not going to compete on price. I know the value of my designs and the value of my knowledge, and I am going to compete or win, if you will, since we're going to talk about, competition. I'm going to win based on creative design styles, extremely fresh product, because I've had care and handling and I know the chain of life and I know how to make my flowers last longer. And because I know my elements and principles, excuse me, and I am a trained professional, I'm going to charge for that. My customer may not be that customer that wants the dozen roses for $9.99. That's okay. I'm okay with that not being my customer. Again, I want to be profitable and I want to set myself apart so that people who come to me for their floral designs know that they're getting floral artistry, that they're getting something more than just the value of the price tag. So good question. And that's a tough one. Like I said, I don't feel there is one right answer because everybody's market is so different. You have to do what works best for you, but that's kind of my approach to it.
I mean, it's kind of like we all do that, right? Like, for instance, the other day, I actually went out and, I don't wear perfume or anything. I just bought an oil that's my favorite, and it's very, very expensive. But I will not undercut that scent or luxury for myself because it's such a wonderful product that I'm not gonna, chintz out on it.
Right. You're going to splurge on that because you're worth it. And it might not even be that much of a splurge, really, but I think it still comes down to being worth it for sure.
And Michelle, I don't know about you, Parker, but I have a little bit of a tally from earlier when you were asking what people like better, if they like foam or hand tie, foam free.
Good. What do we have?
Well, it looks like I'm gonna kind of tackle these all together, like hand tie, armature, chicken wire, foam free. We have that everyone
category.
That one, and we have one foam.
Oh, mine was the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so on Facebook, you're all foam free with what all that encompasses, and it sounds like on YouTube, it's Go Foam, Team Foam. Is that right, Parker?
Wow, we have a battle.
That's true. I love it.
Huh. And then I actually want to do a shout out to, and I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but Eulogio says they like to create an armature from whatever they can pick from outside.
That's one of my faves too. I love armatures. I love them as decorative enhancements as well as just the mechanic of a design. And we talk about armatures in our advanced class. We work with armatures as well in the basic class, but we expand on it more in the advanced class and talk about different kinds of armatures and different materials that you can use to create armatures and their functions and the tools. Oh my gosh, the first day of advanced is my happy place. Well, the whole week. Every day of every class is kind of my happy place because we love what we do around here. But the first day of advanced is tools. We talk about tools and more tools. And then during the week with all the projects, we work with different tools. And I'm not talking just about florist supply type tools. I'm talking about hitting the hardware store, thinking outside the box, finding new and creative materials and ways to do things. Tools are pretty fun. So, got something else?
Yeah, before you take that one away, can you talk about the little balls you were making in there?
Yeah, sure can. So the little baubles, if you will, I'm going to tuck a third one in there. I'm working with Oasis Bullion wire, and I'm just spooling off, I don't know, maybe this is a yard, and just, me, just noodling it, just wadding it up in my hands. So I have this little wad, for lack of a technical term, and then I'm going to roll it like I'm making peanut butter cookies. You know how you make little balls, cookie balls? So I'm just rolling it and compressing it, adding a little bit of pressure and getting it tighter and tighter and tighter until I come up with this little ball. Then I just like to pinch one end of it, so it's kind of teardrop shaped now that I'm done. And I'm just using that as an enhancement in the design. You know, I love my bling. It is helping, making up those words again today, helping to strengthen the unity in this little piece. Because even though it's just a wrist corsage, I need to have unity. And I'm working with a gold metal cuff blank. So including those little bullion balls into that helps increase the unity in the design. It connects the two metals together and makes it more cohesive at that point. So good question. Thanks for asking that. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this mimosa in. It's so cute and fuzzy. And then maybe just a touch of the seeded eucalyptus. And I'm thinking maybe just a little bit of the seeds. I don't really want the leaves themselves.
Can you mention again what the little yellow fuzzy flowers are?
I sure can. The little yellow fuzzy flowers are mimosa or acacia. The plant is acacia, different kinds, much like we call salal in our area. Marisa learned it as lemon leaf because that's what they called it down in California. But this is just the cutest little thing. When it's before it blooms, I don't know if you can see down here, the little flowers are just tight little balls. They look like itty bitty craspedia. Again, what's not to love? And then as they bloom, they become these almost chenille-like sections. They're very soft and fuzzy. If you like caterpillars, they're like a little woolly worm caterpillar. And then as they start to dry out, they still have that slightly craspedia look as they go on to the second half. So they start in these little tight balls, they bloom and become fluffy, and then as they dehydrate, they return back to that shape. So as this dries, as the roses dry out and the mimosa dries out, you're just going to have these little tiny yellow balls, which is kind of cute.
Okay, I have a question for all the viewers.
Okay.
From Cherie. She wants to know what the color scheme of the wrist corsage is.
Oh, okay.
And I think everyone out there can answer that for her. And then Denise wants to know if you made that cuff, and if you did or if you didn't, but if you were to make your own cuff, how do you keep the edges from being sharp?
Great question. So I'll let the tribe answer the color harmony question. And then as far as did I make this cuff? No, I did not make this one. This one was a jewelry blank. So it was a pre-made cuff. So it is smooth already on all the sides. It's been machined, so it's very smooth. If I had made this, I don't see any in here. Let me take a quick peeky poo in the drawers. No, if I had made this, I would use the 1-inch flat wire, and the edges of the wire are not all that sharp. They would not be painful to someone. Where you would cut the wire off the roll, that would be extremely sharp, and you would want to curl your edges, roll them using jeweler's pliers so you have a nice smooth curl, either in so that you end up with a smooth edge like this, or down and back out so you would have a little bit of a spiral embellishment to it. But I found that that flat wire is quite comfortable to wear. It's very malleable, and so long as the cut ends are concealed or treated so that they're not touching the skin, it's fine. But great question there.
You'll like this question.
Okay.
From Norma.
Yes.
So they're having like a daddy-daughter dance.
Yeah.
And any suggestions on where to buy smaller wristlets? Their wholesaler can't get them anymore.
Oh, well, I would say make them. If you have access to aluminum wire, you could make them. If you're thinking about the little elastic ones, those are an option. We have those available in our online store. We also have the slap bracelet style that's very nice because it adjusts wonderfully. Marisa and I have different size wrists, and she'll make a corsage for her, and I'm like, it won't fit my wrist. And I make it for her, and she's like, oh, thanks for the choker. So you have lots of options in sizing with that. Like I said, you could make it out of wire. You could use a preformed blank. I'm trying to think if there's any other option I could give you for sizing.
We have some recycled options in our Tulip Tuesday from this week.
Oh, yes! Oh my gosh, yes, we totally do. The center of your... Thank you. I know. The center of your corsage tape, that little plastic ring in the center. Leanne has a Tulip Tuesday that talks about recycling and upcycling in this case, as well as an option for a ring. We have ring blanks available in the store, which you can use. You can make one, but in a pinch, check out her Tulip Tuesday tip because it is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
So Drake wins. He was the only one that said analogous for the color harmony.
Very good. Okay. I'm glad because Drake has come to flower school, so he knows that.
I have a good question.
Sure.
Someone asked, when you join flower school, do you have to use specific flowers for each assignment, or can you use your own?
Great question. So when you sign up for flower school, if you are taking the online course, you can use the same florals that Leanne uses in the videos, or you can pick something that you like. For example, let's say Leanne uses orchids and roses, and you don't like orchids, or you don't like roses. First off, what's wrong with you? And Parker just went like, what? Yeah. And second, that's okay. You just need to substitute like for like. So the rose is a mass flower, so you would want to substitute another mass flower. The orchids, if they were dendrobiums, it would be a line flower, so you'd want to substitute a line material. So no, we don't dictate the flowers you use, we don't dictate the colors. What we're more concerned with in your lessons is mechanics, elements and principles, and proper implementation of the techniques. So that's what we're looking for. The flowers are a bonus, but so long as you're matching the styles up, if you're trading like for like, you're perfectly fine. If you come to flower school, come to Portland and visit us, we take care of that for you. Everything is provided for you when you come. All you need to bring is something that takes pictures and something that lets you do math. Because we do math at flower school. Marisa.
Sarah said, did you just dip that Oasis glue in Vaseline?
Yes, I did. And if you come to flower school, you would find out why. So I've got one more design here to work on as we talk about the most important thing you learned at flower school. So I thought it was interesting. I asked Teacher Carolyn to weigh in live with us today, but then I also had some comments from two other teachers, one who is not really retired, just isn't working with us any longer as a teacher. And Eric says, many small things, but one small lesson. Put the corsage tape on your pinky so you don't lose it. I've been doing it for 26 years because I learned it in flower school. So yes, that right there is worth the price of admission, boys and girls, I will tell you. I didn't do that when I was working, but once I started teaching and learned that little tip technique, haven't lost my tape yet. And then another was from teacher Jerry. She weighed in the Facebook group and said, having my hands on flowers every day at flower school allowed me to learn to trust and have confidence in myself as a budding florist. Dedicating that time to myself to grow as a designer was priceless. Taking wedding classes, large-scale classes, and attending entrepreneurs' weekends really helped me start to think like a wedding floral business owner. Well, Jerry, I couldn't agree more, and you are the poster child for a successful floral entrepreneur. And I'd like to think that the school could take a little credit for that. Marisa, what you got over there?
Oh, I'm just stretching.
You're just stretching? Oh, okay. She's either that or she's listening to disco and doing the swim or something. I'm not really sure. I think that in Jerry's comment there, I thought that was quite important. Understanding the value of you, investing in yourself. Flower school is an investment in you personally and in your career. We have people that come to us from all types of professions, all walks of life, if you will, who are looking to make a change or just looking to sharpen up what they do already and improve their skills. So this sunflower, He's in the 99th percentile. He's much, much larger than
Snapdragon.
a Snapdragon. So
I was like, wait,
2 syllables, starts with sna. Sunflower, Snapdragon. This one was the only one of this color in this entire bunch, but I just love it so much, I'm going to use it. So there you have it.
Ooh, how are you going to make that one work?
That one work. Well,
Ooh.
we're going to find out. It may or it may not.
It
So,
will.
teachers have to play once in a while.
Is that like super thick too?
It is ginormous. It is as big around as my thumb. So this could be interesting. I may regret this choice in a couple
No,
minutes.
you won't. Do it. It kind of unifies with
The container a little bit. Yeah, I was walking up and down the aisle with the containers trying to see what I had that went with it that I liked. So pricing, mechanics, the value of you. I would say overall, those were overarching themes that I heard when I asked that question. What was the most important thing that you learned in flower school? Cindy had an excellent comment as well, and I just love that. I'm going to read that to you guys because I just thought it was so important. I learned to talk myself through the whole process of designing an arrangement with phrases that I heard during the lessons. If I stumble in describing what I am doing, I know exactly what I need to review. Thought that was pretty fantastic. So if you're in that online program, you can go back and watch your videos over and over and over. You have access to your lessons for a lifetime. So if you're working on something and you find that you're not really remembering something correctly, or I have students say, I hear your voice in my head when I'm doing X, and I think, oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't want to be in your head. But what that tells me is they're thinking about their lesson as they're doing the design. Maybe it's kind of, subconsciously doing that, but I think it helps to reinforce whatever it is that you're working on. And as Cindy was saying, if she is stumbling with her mental words on what she's doing, that probably means she needs to be working on whatever that is. She needs to go back and do a little more review on that.
Caledonia said that she hears your voice in her head when she spells things wrong.
Sorry. I guess it could be worse things that you hear when you're spelling something wrong.
Well, whenever for me, right? I mean, I was like, are you supposed to put a comma here? Is this supposed to be capitalized there? Because
Well, yeah, as Carolyn and Marisa like to joke, Michelle, you're book smart. We're street smart.
Michelle, when you placed those Snapdragons in, did you pay attention at all to which way the tips were going, or?
I did. I was trying to be consistent with the placement. My solo snap here is he is rigid, but the others have a little bit of a curvature, so I'm trying to get the curvature as best I can. This one's a little wonky, to all be the same. Now, Snapdragons will do their own thing. They're geotrophic, right? So they're going to do this, as will stock. So you need to be aware of how you're placing your materials, not just as you're creating the design, but what it's going to be like in 24 to 48 to 36 hours. You learn that in flower school. As we go through care and handling of our products, we talk about the characteristics of the flowers that we're working with, and we help you become more comfortable and more familiar with the product. Now, there are things that I would love to use horizontally. Stock is not one of them, because tomorrow he's going to be like that. And that would probably ruin the line in my design. What is line, you ask? It's an element. And we learn that in flower school. Okay, graduates, line. Define line for me. Somebody pop in there. I know what it is, so it's not me asking you to tell me. But for those who may be interested in coming to flower school and want to know, what is line? in a design?
Well, while we wait for that answer,
Yes.
Scott said that he can easily tell who has gone to any flower school. He sees things that instantly tell him someone knows the right or wrong way of doing things.
Oh, yep, I would have to agree. Look at this. Isn't that the cutest, prettiest little... It's not pink mink, it's just
I think it's ice.
ice, pink ice. There we go. Mink has the little brown tips on it that are super gorgeous too. Yes, I would agree. Going to flower school does not make you a better designer necessarily, but it does make you, this will sound funny, a more educated designer, because you do learn the theory behind what you're doing, not just the put that here, put this here, duplicate this, duplicate that. It's the why. We are perennial 2-year-olds. We are always asking, why? Why am I doing that? Why is that angle wrong? Why did you adjust that flower? We're doing that because we are trying to give you the theory behind it. Because it's shown that if you understand why you're doing something, you're more likely to remember why you're doing something and more likely to do it correctly in the future. So giving you not just the put it here because I said so, because I've never said that ever, but we also give you the why, so you understand the reasoning and the logic behind it. Check that one off your list. Sorry, just had to.
Michelle Cherie over here on Facebook, she gave the answer first.
Oh, very good.
And then behind her is Sweetbriar and Casey. So we have, let's see, line helps create the form and draws the eye throughout the arrangement. Line also can act as a guide, and the path the eye travels through the design. So
Winner, chicken dinner!
That was Casey.
That was Casey. Good job, Casey. Yes. Line, it's the path your eye follows. Line gives structure to the design. Line creates the form of the design. Now, as you look at this, I'm not quite done, but as you look at this here, even before I put the agonis in, let's pretend the agonis isn't there for a second. This checkmark form is one that we're seeing a lot in contemporary, meaning of the moment, design styles, but it's a geometric form, okay? It's a triangle, right? 1, 2, 3. It's just a triangle on the point instead of a triangle on the side. So it's still a geometric form. The modern interpretation of these designs that we're seeing still require you to know your elements and principles. Sorry, folks, you can't get away from it. We teach you that in flower school. We give you the basis by which you can create new and different and exciting and contemporary forms based on the elements and principles of design. That's what learning the rules and then getting to break them does. We have, is it in 2 weeks, Marisa, when basic starts again?
I think so.
Yeah, the 28th of February, we start with another basic class. And of course, if you wanted to take the online program, you can start at any time. Anytime you want to. I think it's cool. Not just because I teach here and not just because I work with the students in the online program, but the fact that you can access that program from anywhere is amazing. If you were working this Valentine's Day and you were in a pickle for a design for Designer's Choice, which is everybody's favorite, you could have logged into your lessons, done a quick search for something, maybe not the exact florals that were used, but definitely the inspiration for a piece. Could have accessed it on your phone. You didn't have to have, a satellite or Wi-Fi or anything like that. You could just access it through your phone and you'd be good to go. Of course, if you come visit us in Portland, we love that because we love seeing new students and happy faces and all that good stuff. But the online program is so accessible for so many people because of that, because they can access it from wherever. And I think that's a huge, huge benefit for our students. All right, I'm tucking a few of these little guys in here.
I had a good thought over here.
Yeah.
Christine said flower school taught me so much. One being not to be afraid to try.
Absolutely. You know, I actually like it when students don't do something perfectly or correctly the first time, because if you do it right the first time, honestly, you don't learn anything. I know it sounds weird, but if you do it right the first time, it could just be dumb luck. If you do it wrong the first time, then you learn how to correct it. And you can do that in an environment with trained professionals that have made that mistake before. Marisa, Leanne, Carolyn, we've all done it. So it allows you to take advantage of that knowledge base to help you learn how to make corrections in your own work, evaluate your own work for the elements and principles, and be able to adjust and fix, if you will, your own mistakes. That's part of that power that comes with knowledge. So I'm probably not going to get this finished before we end. It'll be pretty darn close, but you'll be able to see the finished design in the Tulip group tomorrow. The Tulip People, you're going to get the first peek at it, along with the others. If you know someone who might be interested in coming to flower school, go ahead and share this with them. Let them know what you learned and the value that you found in coming to school. If you're on Facebook, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube and you don't already subscribe to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. You'll get notifications when you click that little bell of any time we upload new how-to videos, new tips, new anything. It comes in to your notifications for YouTube. Again, it's always a pleasure to spend an hour with you guys. Like I said, if you like it, give it a like and a share and a thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you for answering the questions about what you found most important that you learned in flower school. And thanks for spending the hour with me today. Next week, you'll have Leanne, and you'll be talking about holidays. So do your homework. And until then, keep doing something you love. Bye.